Welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. Last time we've performed some scientific experiments and unlocked new parts for our space travels. Today, after long last, we are going to save Jebidiah Kerman. For that, we will take our trusty Enterprise and upgrade it to the finest technology there is. We'll change almost everything except the lander, and even lander we're going to change it a little bit. We're going to add another capsule so that Jebidiah can enter it and return safely home. As usual, we're going to speed up the building process. As you can see, we're changing fuel tanks we have for bigger ones, adding some solar panels and some lights. Here we add 4 additional boosters on our sides. The central booster is going to be using a less powerful rocket, and the central one and the sides ones are using more powerful rockets, which unfortunately can't gimbal. We also add in some reaction wheels, which allow us to steer our ship a bit more easily. And here is the main difference between our previous builds and this one. We're going to use the so-called asparagus design, which means that we're not going to ditch all 4 external boosters at the same time. We're going to ditch them one by one. And to do that, we're going to use the fuel ducts. Idea is first to use 2 fuel tanks and then another 2. Meanwhile, they will also be feeding into each other. So every time we ditch 2 fuel tanks, the rest of them will still have 100% fuel. You'll see it in more details when we launch. Our ship seems to be in order, everything is stable, and last small addition to make us more stable on the launch pad are those launch clamps. They'll simply keep our ship before we launch and will be detached as soon as we start our engines. Our ship is upgraded, everything is stable, and we are ready for the launch. Let's head to the launch pad. It's a beautiful morning on Kerbal, and we are ready and we launch. And immediately you can see that our fuel is being consumed more in 2 fuel tanks than in other 3. As soon as those run out, we'll ditch them and another 3 will work, but they will not be at their current percentages, they will be at 100%. All because of the magic of fuel ducts. And they empty, and we ditch them. But as you see, 100% and all left fuel tanks. This amazing design will allow us to conserve more fuel and to get into orbit easier. Here is our usual orbital ascent and orbital insertion. So we are going to speed this up a little bit because this part is kind of standard and we don't need to see it every time in great details. Here we ditched our last pair of fuel tanks and we are almost in the orbit, just a tiny bit more. We've performed our usual maneuver node that gets us around 80 to 90 kilometers orbit. It's going to happen in approximately 3 seconds. Our orbit is achieved, and now we're going to perform our minmus transfer. To do this, we are going to check where is our descending node, exactly the place where our orbit intersects the orbit of Minmus. And we are going to use this place to place a maneuver node, which will take our orbit directly to the Minmus. As you can see, I'm adjusting the node a little bit so that it's placed directly on the descent node, so that our apopsis is directly where the ascending node is. What this will gain us is that we burn where our orbits intersect, and our apopsis will also be in the same place where orbits intersect. That will bring us to the encounter. And I'm doing little corrections and tweaks. As you can see, this part is kind of sped up a little bit. And now know the setup, everything is in order. We're just going to find it, set an alarm clock, and time warp to it. When we reach a node, we'll perform our burn, which will get us into the transfer orbit to Minmus. As you can see, we had to ditch our orbital stage, and now we're only using our lander. But as we have a very large fuel tank, it will be surely enough to get to the Minmus, perform a landing, and actually get back. Our burn is almost complete. We're almost there. And we are there. Let's set our alarm clock and time warp to the ascending node that appeared on our orbit. What we're going to do is we are going to create another maneuver node near the ascending node and use it to correct our orbit that way, so that we don't get into the polar orbit around the Minmus. We want more or less equatorial orbit to get closer to Jebidiah. Here you can see me warping around with the node, trying to get our orbit where we want it to be. Our node is almost ready. Just tiny little bit of tweaking, and we're there. So we are going to again set our alarm clock and time warp to it. See you closer to the node. So, we are ready to perform our burn, to change our orbit, and to be more around the equator of Minmus than we are now. And we done it. Next stop, change of sphere of influence, which will happen in a couple of seconds. And we captured. Our orbit is almost equatorial, but we would still tweak it. One of the reasons is because Jebidiah is not exactly on an equator. He is a bit south of the equator. So throughout this flight, you will see lots of small orbit changes, and they will become even more precise closer we get to the target, so that we can land more or less close by, and Jebidiah won't have to run kilometers and kilometers in the slower gravity. Here we'll perform our circularization maneuver, which will get us into the orbit of the Minmus and won't let us to fly out and back into the Kerbal Sphere of Influence. Here we go. Time warp to the node. Node is on the nav ball. And burn. And burn. Any second. Burn is progressing slowly but steadily. And we are in orbit. Now our goal is to change our orbit that way, so that we are flying over Jebidiah's place. And also time warp to the place where his landing is on the day side, because we don't want to land on the dark side, because we won't see anything. Here we're orbiting, and we're done. We're just going to lower our periapsis as low as we can, approximately 7,000 meters, and change our inclination so that we are passing directly over his capsule. The maneuver is done. Here we're executing our burn. Almost there. And the last course correction. Our orbit is going to be directly over the capsule, and we're going to bring us down. Here is our node. I'm just going to do a tiny bit more of correcting, and we see that our orbit passes directly where we want it to go. And the most final burn of the flight. Now we're going to bring our orbit down, make it actually an ascent or descent, however you want to watch it. But in our case, descent is more appropriate term because we are going down. There. And we are coasting to the maneuver node at 1000 times speed. Our burn will happen in a couple of seconds. I think I'll even miss it a little bit. So much for the alarm clock. So our speed is falling. And we're almost done with it. Let's remove this node and do another node for the most finest of the course correction. I'll speed up this part of the descent so that it doesn't take too much time. As you can see, our orbit is changed. We are just going to face retrograde, that is opposite direction we are going, and start slowly killing our speed, our lateral speed. On the way, we're also going to perform some science experiments and some observations. And we are slowly approaching our target. We're approximately 2.5 kilometers away. And we are slowing down. Our speed is approximately 150 meters per second, and falling. It's 15 meters per second now. And we are 250 meters away from the surface of Minmus. 150. 120. 100. We're going to slow down a little bit more. And we're at 50 meters. 40. 30. 25. 20. 15. 10. 9. And touchdown. The difference is because our capsule is actually a bit higher than the ground level. So let us do our main science part. Observe the mystery materials which our scientists gathered who knows where. Probably we better not to know. And let's take our Kerbal on the little Minmus walk. Look how happy he is. He's going to plant another flag, take another surface sample, and do all this stuff you would do when you're on another planet or the moon. And we're going to call this site Rescue Op. So let's bring him back to the ship. Slowly. And grab. And grab. Nope. On one of the tries, it will definitely work. And grab. Let's put him in the spaceship. And let us change to the Jebidiah. He spent so much time here. So we take him out to stretch his legs a little bit and to go forward and gather another sample. So a sample is gathered. Let's take a report. And by the power of the jetpack, Jebidiah will travel to the Moonlander. Oh, Minmus lander. He must be very happy this time. After so many days, months, maybe even years, he's finally returning home. And grab. Grab. And board. So, our mission is a great success. Let us throw another glimpse on Minmus surface and take off. Heading home, where all Kerbal Nation is patiently waiting in front of their TVs, radios, and other electronic equipment. They all wait for the Jebidiah to return. We're going to perform our usual orbit and then return pattern. So this part is going to be sped up to 400%. So we're changing our inclination, because unfortunately we started in almost polar orbit, which won't work in our case. So we're going to change it a little bit more to make it more or less equatorial. Unfortunately, we cannot change our target to Kerbal for whatever reason, and here we have our equatorial orbit. At this point, I decided that we have to use this opportunity and do some small science. As our biopsies will be about 250 kilometers away from Minmus, we have opportunity to take some high orbital observation. And here you see both Kerbals doing their EVA and reporting it. Number 1, number 2. And so we've done our science and we are hurrying home. We're doing our usual retrograde burn, which will take our periapsis of Kerbin to approximately 30 kilometers, which will allow us to air brake and re-enter atmosphere safely. Our burn is complete and we are approaching Kerbin. And here we are, re-entering our atmosphere. We're at 45 kilometers, 40 kilometers. Our orbit is getting lower. Re-entry effects are taking hold. And we are definitely coming home with each hour engine and a fuel tank. 10,000, 6,000, 5, 4. We deploy our parachute. And both parachutes successfully deployed. Our speed is slow. Jebidiah and Bill are happy. They are finally home, especially Jebidiah. Look how curious he is. He must have forgotten how Mother Kerbin looks like. Final 100 meters. Going to time warp a little bit. And splash down. Everything is safely on the planet. Let us recover our vehicle. And look at that. Look at all this science. All those discoveries that are awaiting us. All this new technology. All the new rockets we can build. All the new planets we can explore. Just imagine the possibility. But for now, we're going to end this episode. Thanks all for watching. Remember to like, dislike, and comment the video. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing to the channel and share these videos across the social network, such as Facebook or Twitter. Once again, thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.